Today's layout features some fun papers from the mixed media florals, as well as some stamp sets and some fun photos. So I have been dying to cut into this paper collection. This is part of the online exclusives, and this is called Mixed Media. Now, it has some bright, bold patterns, but you can see here the back sides are kind of some subtle ones. So I am going to cut into this and make this layout from our brand new sketchbook, the Creative Design Teams. You'll find a link down to that below. This is volume 3. And while this sketchbook is geared toward using 6x6 papers for 12x12 layouts, I just like the elongated middle section and then the circles, because another one of the products that I fell in love with is the Around It All dies. And I was actually surprised to see how large this circle is. I love the irregularity in the circles. I think it's going to lend itself really nicely to the kind of watercolor look of the mixed media. Now, the mixed media also comes with a stamp set, the mixed florals. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to use them quite yet on this layout. I might not. We'll see. But I am going to do this. I am going to be adding some photos, but toward the very end of this process video, because this layout is also going to be part of a workshop that I'm doing. So I want it without photos so I can snap pictures and everything like that. And then I'm going to add my photos at the very end. And if you are a soap opera fan, I think you're going to love it. So make sure you stay tuned. So I am going to clean this stuff off, go ahead and do some cutting off camera, and then I'll be back and we can put this layout together. I am going to speed up the rest of this video and kind of talk you through the process. Right here, I have all of my pieces cut from the DSP, and I am adding some ink treatment to the edges. Now, this is the direct to paper method where you just turn over your ink pad and just run it along the edges. I am using a smaller ink pad, but this ink color is black. You can see where sometimes I get a little bit more ink on the DSP than I want, but it's okay. I can either hide that or just go with the look. Now, for the centers of those pieces, I did leave those uninked. That way, when the 2-page layout is open, it'll be more seamless. Now, I am going to be using this larger piece. The majority of this is going to be covered up by a 5x7 photo mat. So I am going to use that with the largest circle from the Around All dies. And I am just going to run that through my die cut machine. And while I love this striped pattern, I'm really looking for the back side. This is one of my favorite florals from this collection. And then I have 2 little scrap pieces from cutting my other pieces that I'm going to cut using some other size circles. So again, using that floral side, and then on this green scratch piece of paper, I'm actually going to be cutting 4 circles. So we've kind of got a smaller one, but it's the larger of the smaller ones. And then I'm going to choose 3 additional small circles. Now, again, I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I just absolutely love the All Around It dies. They are, they're really like no rhyme or reason. They're not perfect circles. I think it lends itself really well to this paper, as well as a lot of paper that's in my stash. Now, I am going ahead and inking up the edges of these circles. One thing about ink distressing is you want to make sure that you have that throughout all the pieces of your paper on your layout. Now, for the left layout, I am attaching the bottom and the top pieces. And then remember, this piece is actually a 12-inch piece instead of the 6-inch pieces that the sketch calls for. I am going to go ahead and do my right layout base as well. I usually like to get my layout bases done, and then I can come back with the photos and embellishments later. And that way I can kind of look at the layout as a whole instead of them being 2 separate sides. And you can see that those middle sections of those DSPs are not inked. Now, I originally cut this hole thinking that my 5x7 would cover it up, but you can see here Not only does it not cover all of it up, but I've kind of wanted to change the location of my photo. So I am going to embrace this little mistake, and I am just adding some black Stampin' Right marker around the edge to mimic that ink distressing. And then I am just going to go ahead and draw some journaling lines. And this is going to end up being my journaling spot. So what turned out as a mistake, oh my gosh, how am I going to fix it? I'm actually embracing it, and it's going to become one of the main staples to this left layout. I'm going to remove this layout base and take off the stickiness with my rub and remove eraser, and we are finished with the Versamat for now. Now, like I said, this photo mat is going to go off to the right. In the sketch, it's off to the left, but that's what I love about sketches is it's just a jumping start point, a jumping off point for your creativity and for inspiration, and then you can kind of go with it. Definitely embrace the flow of not only your papers, but of your photos. So I'm just going to kind of rough out some placements of those circles. I am going to add a 3x4 photo well down here at the bottom. Remember that I am doing this layout with blank photos for right now, so I can take pictures of it and then include the cutting diagrams for my VIPs in my Facebook group. And then I'm going to show you at the very end the photos I'm going to use. So I'm not sure that 3x4 is going to stay a 3x4, but at least I have the photo placement there. So for this green paper, it's just a little bit too blank. Even though you don't really want a lot of busy patterns, I felt by using the Elements of Text stamp set to kind of add some pattern to it, it's going to add just a little bit, not just in your face green, but I also need to do that to the left layout, those circles that I have already adhered down. So I'm just using my removable labeling tape to cover up all the DSP so I don't get it on there. This is usually the point where I mess up royally, and don't worry, I mess up here in just a second. But again, I find a way to fix it. So we've got those pieces stamped, and I am liking how that is looking. Again, it's a very subtle look. It's got the black ink, but that text is so small and tiny that it doesn't add a whole lot of pattern to a layout that already has a whole lot of pattern to it, if you will. Now this piece, I want to mimic the edge between the circles and the edge of the layout. So I just brought in that left layout to see where I could place it. And then I'm going to go ahead and use another one of these circles for a journaling spot. I really liked how that was on the left, and I feel like I'm going to have a little bit more journaling to do. So I've just cut that with white cardstock, and then again going to mimic those journaling lines with a black pen, and then I can get that adhered down to this right layout. Now I kind of roughed it where I wanted it. But you're kind of stuck now that you've drawn the lines. It really has to go a certain way. So I'm just going to kind of play with up and down, but for the most part, that little egg shape at the top is going to have to work. Now I have pulled out another stamp set, and this one I've already used on a layout. It's called For the Books, and I love this. This one's for the books. So I'm going to ink that up. So I've inked it down and dropped my block. Yes, it happens often here. I tried to fix it with my sandpaper eraser. It's just not going to work. So I'm going to peel that off, and here's where I'm trying to fix it, but because those lines are already drawn, it's really hard. So off camera, I have cut another one, and I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to hide that ink. And then I'm just going to draw me some more journaling lines. I've figured it out. And I'm going to get that adhered down. It is a little bit high for my liking, but at least that mistake is covered up. Now on the left layout, I also need some stamped images from this For the Books. So there's this one that says, "You're a solid 5-star." And then I'm going to ink up some of the books. Now these books are the ones that I used in a layout I believe a few days ago, and I'm going to use the same coloring method because using the back of the stamp set is going to not only add color, but it also has that watercolor look that I think this Mixed Media Floral DSP has as well. So I'm just going to fussy cut these books out. Now I've stamped 2 of the stacked books and then 2 of kind of the upright books. And I'm going to fussy cut both of them out, and I'm going to adhere them to the left and the right layout. So a lot of times when you have little images to add after the fact and you haven't put your photos on yet, it's a lot easier if you'll add your 3D foam tape to your layout base. And then that way you don't have to worry if your 3D foam or your adhesive is going to cover up any of the photo wells. So that is pretty much it. I'm loving the circles and the journaling, and here are my photos. I absolutely love this. Yes, Eric Braden came to our town, and so my sister and I had to go see him. We grew up watching Young and the Restless. He was there for a book tour, and this is the layout I'm going to use for these photos. These are from 2020, but I'm really, really liking them, and I'm glad to finally get a layout done that I can put them down to. Remember, I'll post links down below so you can shop these brand new products. And thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you'll have a wonderful rest of your week.